Good morning. I wish to welcome everyone. We are happy to be here in Kabul today and officially declare the meeting open at 9 a.m. In accordance with Council's adopted standing orders and meeting procedures, members of the public are respectfully requested to hold any comments or questions until the official meeting has concluded. I'd like to thank all of the Council staff that have been involved in making this meeting possible today. This ensures meetings are conducted in an orderly and efficient manner, allowing councillors to carry out council business in line with legislative and procedural requirements. Please make sure that all your mobile phones are on silent or turned off. Members of the public are invited to share a morning tea with councillors and staff following the closure of the meeting, and Council will then provide a community update followed by an opportunity for questions on notice. Attendees in the gallery may be recorded, and the video and audio of the meeting will be available to the public on Council's website after the meeting. We appreciate and understand your cooperation during the meeting. Thank you. I wish to acknowledge the traditional custodians on this land on which we stand, the Gurumay people, and acknowledge my respect for their current and emerging elders and those in the dreaming, and thank them for the contributions they have made in building our community. I would like to welcome Debbie Watson, Chair of the Cassowary Coast Uniting Church Board, to conduct the opening prayer. Welcome, Deb.
Thanks. Oh, we're standing? Oh. Good morning. Look, I just have something fairly short to share just before the prayer. So it's talking about rejecting negativity. And it comes from 20 Ways to Make Every Day Better by Joyce Meyer. You and I have more choices in life than we realise. We might not be able to choose everything we experience on a given day. The weather, our job assignments, the disposition of others around us, what takes place in the news. But we do get to choose how we respond to those experiences. I recently came across a great reminder of the power of our choices. I woke up early today, and I really did, because our power went off at like 3 o'clock this morning. It could have gone off tomorrow when we have to get up for the Anzac, but it's okay, sorry. I woke up early today, excited over all I get to do. I have responsibilities to fulfill. My job is to choose what kind of day I'm going to have. Today I can complain because the weather is rainy, or I can be thankful because the garden is being watered for free. Today I can feel sad that I don't have any money. I can be glad that my finances encourage me to plan my purchases wisely and to guide me away from waste. Today I can cry because my roses have thorns, or I can celebrate that the thorns have roses. Today I can mourn my lack of friends, or I can excitedly embark on a quest to discover new relationships. Today I can whine because I have to go to work, or I can shout for joy because I have a job to do. Today I can whinge because I have to do the housework again, or I can appreciate that I have a place to call home. Today stretches ahead of me, waiting to be shaped. And here I am, the sculptor who gets to do the shaping. What today is like is up to me. I get to choose what kind of day I will have. I love this outlook on life. Sure, there are lots of negative things that happen around us, but we don't have to focus on the negative. We can choose to see the positive. This is not just a good idea, but it's God's will for our lives. In Philippians 4, verse 8 says, whatever is true, whatever is worthy of reverence and is honourable and seemly, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely and lovable, whatever is kind and winsome and gracious, if there is any virtue and excellence, if there is anything worthy of praise, think on and weigh and take account of these things and fix your minds on them. Let's pray. Lord, I pray a blessing over these servants of yours that you have put in the position of caretaking this beautiful area called the Kasserine Coast. I pray that you give them wisdom in the decisions they make, the strength and resolve to shake off any troubles, problems, negativity, or criticism from others. We pray that this region will be prosperous, safe, and will continue to grow. Bless all who live here. And Lord, I just want to pray particularly for the people who have had flooding and any leftover trauma from anything that's happened in this Cardwell area. Lord, I just ask that you remove that trauma from their lives, and Lord, just help them, just bless them. We pray for all the Anzac services across our region tomorrow. May the weather be favourable and the numbers be great. Lord, keep our country safe. We thank you because we are so blessed to live in such an amazing place. Grant us all travelling mercies as we travel back home today. Thank you, Lord, and we pray this in your name, Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you so much and have a safe time. Thank you. Are there any apologies? No apologies? Declaration of prescribed conflicts of interest or declarable conflicts of interest. I now invite those present to use this opportunity to make public any prescribed conflicts of interest or declarable conflicts of interest in respect of the items in the agenda. Councillors should use this opportunity to disclose and or comment on other councillors and or staff interests in accordance with the Act and regulations. Do we have any conflicts? No conflicts? Good. We'll move on to minutes of the local government meeting March. Call for a mover and a seconder to confirm the minutes of the local government meeting held 27th of March 2025 as true and correct. Moved by Councillor Littlemore. Chair. Seconded by Councillor Baines. All in favour? Carried, thank you. Item 2, business arising from the previous minutes. Is there any business arising? No business arising, thank you. We'll move on to item 3.1, receipts of the minutes. We call for a mover and a seconder to receive the minutes of the following meetings: the Traffic Advisory Committee meeting, Speed Management Advisory Committee meeting, and the Economic Leadership Committee meeting held. Moved by Councillor Chewy. Seconded by Councillor McLeod. All in favour of those minutes? Carried, thank you. Move on to item 4.1, event sponsorship, and Ms Clark will present. Just have to put that on.
Morning councillors, members of the public. So this morning I will present the event sponsorships report in absence of Richard Blanchard, our Tourism and Event Development Lead. The Kasserine Coast Event Strategy for 24 to 28 was adopted by Council in April of 2024. It provides a clear framework to foster a vibrant and balanced calendar of events that reflects the region's character, enhances community pride, and attracts new audiences and supports economic development. This report presents 2 event support requests submitted to Council, both of which align with the event strategy objectives. This being the GBR 50 event proposed for June 2025. This is a new community-led destination event designed to highlight the region's natural strengths and broaden its appeal to new audiences. And the second being Innisfail Riverfest for 2025 to 2027, and this is a growing local event seeking multi-year council support to expand its regional appeal and reach. Both proposals represent timely opportunities to activate the event strategy by supporting a balance of community and destination events, helping to grow the region's identity, visitor economy and community pride. The 24 to 25 financial year operational budget has been approved through the council budgeting process to deliver these actions, and since the event strategy was adopted, implementation has occurred and primarily focused on existing local events, so this does align with what we've been delivering today. This report is specific to event sponsorship, and some sponsorship requests received for council consideration. Council's event sponsorship investments are relative to implementing actions of the event strategy and are measured against 5 strategy objectives, which are to enhance the profile and exposure of the Cassowary Coast, contribute to economic growth, strengthen sustainable events and practices, and contribute to a balanced program of events, and share and foster community pride, which both of these do. So the recommendation today is that Council delegates authority to the Chief Executive Officer to enter into a sponsorship agreement with the GBR 50 steering group for the June 25 GBR 50 event, with Council's contribution being $10,000 towards the 2025 event. Subject to the 2025-26 Council budget approval process, it delegates authority to the Chief Executive Officer to enter into a sponsorship agreement for the 25 Innisfail Riverfest. And further to that, subject to the successful delivery of outcomes outlined in the 25 Innisfail Riverfest sponsorship agreement, it then delegates authority to the Chief Executive Officer to enter into a further 2-year sponsorship agreement with a sponsorship contribution of $7,500 and for 2026 and $5,000 for 2027.
Anybody got any questions? I have. Councillor Baines.
Thank you for your indulgence, ma'am. I'd just like to, it's more a comment than a question, around council's support for the GBR 50 event. I have a tagline that I will utilise often about the Cassowary Coast being the beating heart of the wet tropics and the birthplace of the Great Barrier Reef Marine Park. I'm always told that it's not a competition, but in my mind, Cassowary Coast is the birthplace of the Great Barrier Reef Marine Park and the beating heart of the wet tropics. So I'll keep pushing along on those lines. I'd like to thank Council for their support. Councillor Chewy and I have been attending some of these meetings. I've linked the community-led group that's working with Cassowary Coast Tourism up with the Reef Authority. There's nothing the Reef Authority can do at this stage, of course, because the federal government is in caretaker mode until the 3rd of May. So once we progress out of there, we might see other events rolling through. But I would just like, again, to thank the council for their support in this project. It's a really important event. It all is centred around John Booth's house, who was involved in the application that was put to the Innisfail Magistrate's Mining Court that year, 50 years ago, and the decision was made to not mine Ellison Reef, which is now one of the great reefs around in this space. And it's a really important time for us to get positive messages out. The reef is not dying. It's the best reef in the world. It's the best managed reef in the world. And events like this give us the opportunity to have those conversations and to get those conversations rolling. So keep them going. We need people to come here. We need people to visit. We need people to come through the gateway to the Cassowary Coast, where we are here today, and on the way through. So very, very supportive. Not a question, more a statement. Happy to move the motion.
Ms Clark, could you just elaborate what GBR 50 is, because a lot of people may not realise what that stands for?
Yeah, sure. So the GBR 50 concept was formed together with the collaboration of several established community organisations, as Councillor Baines mentioned. So they were Friends of Nenny Rise, Mission Arts, Mission Beach Historical Society, Community for Coastal and Cassowary Conservation, GIRU, Cassowary Coast Tourism and Cassowary Coast Regional Council. And the event concept just aims to collaboratively recognise and celebrate the 50th anniversary milestone of the establishment of the Great Barrier Reef Act on the 20th of June 1975. So it brings that celebration under a common brand and banner through a variety of events that will be available to community. It celebrates a significant natural asset that we have in region and promotes the environmental stewardship that comes with that natural asset. So the events that are planned for that event are Friday evening being a welcome function to be held on Dunk Island. Saturday would be a Ninny Rise Community Open Day, followed by a formal evening dinner to be held at Mission Beach Resort. And then on Sunday is the community conservation events, beach cleans and native replanting.
Thank you. So we've had it moved by Councillor Baines. Councillor Chewy, you're going to second that? All in favour? Carried. Thank you. Thank you for your report. We move on to the private contribution from the Port of Marillion strategic business case, and Ms Clark will also present this. Thank you.
So this report presents an important opportunity for Council to strengthen the region's economic vision and goals through a strategic public-private partnership. Silica Resources Australia has offered a private contribution of $100,000 towards the Port of Marillion Industrial Development Area strategic business case. This is a significant economic moment for the Kasserine Coast region. It is the first private sector contribution to a foundational infrastructure study and sets a precedent for future collaborative investment models. The proposed financial support will reduce the burden on ratepayers while reinforcing investor confidence in the region. To enact this, a formal funding agreement has been prepared to ensure that the contribution is managed transparently, ethically and independently, in full alignment with all relevant legislative obligations. Advice has been obtained from the Integrity Commissioner and legal due diligence has been undertaken. The business case mentioned will assess infrastructure needs, land use planning and the market potential of a precinct adjacent to the Port of Marillion to support future industrial growth. This work has already commenced and it has been funded through the Local Government Grants and Subsidies program with a contribution of $150,000. This initial funding has enabled Council to initiate key planning works and stakeholder engagement. In December, Silica Resources Australia, a private company with an active lease at the Port of Marillion, offered to contribute $100,000 to further support this business case. Their intent is to support the exploration of infrastructure that could then benefit multiple industries, while explicitly not seeking to influence the study's outcomes. To ensure transparency, accountability and integrity, Council has prepared a formal funding agreement outlining the terms of the contribution, including the independence of the study and Council's continued discretion over decision making. Sought advice from the Integrity Commissioner confirming compliance with the Integrity Act of 2009 in Queensland and ensured the agreement aligns with the Local Government Act and the Financial Accountability Act. We have maintained all documentation in accordance with our record-keeping requirements. The funding agreement is now ready for execution, pending formal acceptance by Council, and the agreement further affirms that no partnership, endorsement or influence is created through the funding and includes provisions for public transparency, stakeholder reporting and lawful fund administration. Consultation has occurred on this agreement across our economic development teams, finance teams and governance. But further to that, externally, engagement with Silica Resources Australia has clarified the scope, intent and non-influential nature of the contribution. We've also received independent legal advice to ensure all full due diligence is undertaken, and we have received formal advice from the Integrity Commissioner included in this report for Council's receive and noting. The acceptance of a $100,000 private contribution from Silica Resources Australia will significantly enhance the funding base for the Port of Marillion Industrial Development Area strategic business case. It will increase the total available project budget from $150,000 to $250,000, and this private funding contribution does reduce the financial burden on Council and ratepayers. It increases value for money by leveraging private investment to complement public funding and deliver regional planning outcomes. The recommendations for Council today are that Council accepts the private contribution of $100,000 from Silica Resources Australia in order to support the development of the Port of Marillion Industrial Development Area strategic business case. It authorises the Chief Executive Officer to sign the funding agreement between Kasserine Coast Regional Council and Silica Resources Australia. formalising the terms of the contribution and ensuring the administration and acquittal of the contributed funds are undertaken in a transparent, ethical and financially responsible manner. It receives and formally notes the advice provided by the Integrity Commissioner in alignment with Council's commitment to maintaining high standards of integrity, accountability and good governance in decision-making processes. And it acknowledges and thanks Silica Resources Australia for their support and financial contribution, which reduces the financial burden on ratepayers and facilitates the exploration of economic development opportunities within the Cassowary Coast region.
Thank you. Any comments to be made? Councillor Purven?
Yes, thanks, Chair, through yourself. Ms Clark, just a question in relation to originally, I believe this Silica Resources will be a lobbyist. We've sought further information. This no longer needs to occur. Is that correct?
That is correct. Attached to the report is the advice received from the Integrity Commissioner. So they asked if they needed to be classified as a lobbyist, and due to the fact that they're not acting as a third party, they're not now required to be registered as a lobbyist.
Right, thank you very much.
Councillor Toohey?
Thank you, through the Chair. Ms Clark, residents of Curramine have some concerns, so they need to actually reach out to Silica, don't they, if they have any questions, and not Cassowary Coast Regional Council. Would that be correct advice?
Yeah, through to the Chair. So just to clarify, the concerns are in relation to the project and the works that are being undertaken on the mining site itself. So yes, that's correct. It would be Silica Resources Australia that they need to contact directly.
Okay, thank you for that.
Do we have an address that we can provide to those people so that ease of...
Through to the Chair, Silica Resources Australia do have a website that's available, and I don't have the website on me, but it's Silica Resources Australia if you were to look that up on Google, and they have all of their contact details on there as well. I can also note these concerns have been raised previously, and they are pending some decisions internally, and then they will start their full community consultation.
Yeah, I think that's what the people are waiting to, because there's just a few concerns and a few questions. I think they'd be grateful for the Silica people to reach out to the broader community to have those questions answered. So thank you for your response.
Councillor Jessup?
Yes, through the Chair. The Silica Resources is www.silicaresources.com.au. I just found that on there for you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Baines?
Thank you, Mayor. I think this is a great indication of the works that's been done within the Cassowary Coast region about us being open for business, about us trying to attract business. Now we've got businesses that are prepared to co-contribute on projects. It's excellent in the report how we've gone through that they're not lobbyists. We've also gone through that they have no control over anything. This is an investment in building the plan and looking at the future for their company, of course, which is why they're investing, but also for the Cassowary Coast as a region. And I think it's a great catalyst for other industries to start coming to look at Cassowary Coast. We are open for business. The team works well with people. So I take my hat off to our team internally. Kira Jean, yourself especially, the works you've been doing. Yes, Can of Coke, write it down. I used your name. So thank you, Ms Clark, and thank you to the team, and thank you to the fellow councillors and all the work we've done. We've been working in this space now for 9 years, and this is rubber hitting the road, so it's a really important piece. So well done, everybody. Great work.
And hopefully the positive investment from Silica Resources in getting this business case to proceed and not at the expense of the ratepayers is a one tick for them, and the significant contribution is a sign of investor confidence in our region, and we hope to see that there might be a flow-on effect from that. So, Councillor McLeod?
Thank you, Mayor, through the Chair. This is a really great news story, and it's showing that, Council is open and willing to work with anybody who wants to invest in our region, and, the ED team is absolutely amazing. I'm lucky that I'm the portfolio holder of that team, I can tell you, because they are, our council staff, amazing. But Miss Clark and a very small team with Miss Bishop are doing amazing things, and this is just showing that we are definitely the region that people want to come to and invest. If, you know, a private company is willing to put $100,000 towards this, it is, yeah, definitely kudos to all of you, and I'll move this, please, Mayor.
Moved by Councillor McLeod. Got a seconder? Councillor Pervin. Those in favour? Carried, thank you. We move on to 5.1, the financial performance report, and Ms Travesky will present. Good morning.
Good morning, Mayor. Good morning, Council. The Chief Executive Officer is required by Section 204, subsection 2 of the Local Government Regulation 2012 to present the financial report at a meeting of the local government once per month. The financial report must state the progress that has been made in relation to the local government's budget for the period of the financial year up to a day as near as practicable to the end of the month before the meeting is held. The purpose of this report is to promote sound financial management and accountability by presenting the Council's financial performance for the year to date versus budget expectations as at the 31st of March 2025. Note that the budget information in this report also reflects those amendments made as part of the budget review BR2 adopted by Council on 27th of February 2025. The financial performance highlights include the following. Operational revenue year to date is $106.46 million, which is less than budget by $2.93 million. Operational expenditure year to date is $86.4 million, which is under budget by $3.46 million. This results in an operational profit for the year to date of $20.06 million, which is better than budget expectations by $528,000. The capital expenditure, including commitments, represents 75% spent of the $94.15 million. The end of month cash balance is $80.08 million, which includes $20 million of fixed term investments. I'll now just highlight some items in our financial report. Rates and utilities, revenue is greater than budget by $90,000. 89% of rates were paid as at the 10th of April 2025. Interest revenue is greater than budget by $80,000. So this is, interest is going quite well, so that's where that extra revenue has come in. And currently, Council has $20 million invested in fixed term investments. We also have a table there that outlines our interest charges, which is 12.35% on any outstanding rates. This is in line with Council's revenue statement and also Section 133 of the Local Government Regulations 2012. Operating grants and contributions. We're under budget by $3.16 million. Most of these is driven by the impact by weather and not being able to undertake some of the works. So we've got, for example, there around $3.3 million under budget for the DRFA Reaper and $210K under budget for works for Queensland, $500K under budget for the 1 Mile Creek dredging, and this is just due to revenue recognition, and $265K under budget for the DRFA Cat D events projects. I just want to highlight that none of this revenue is at risk and will be paid by the relevant parties. This is offset by $1.2 million over budget due to the emergent works and counter-disaster operations from the north and far north tropical low that occurred between the 29th of January to the 28th of February. An area, Council, that we have highlighted before is around our employee expenses. We are over budget on our employer expenses by $455K, whilst we are under budget on our wages and salaries, there is additional employee expenses that weren't budgeted. The variable allowances are higher than expected, and this is due to significant works in wet weather. So we pay a wet weather allowance for a rain allowance and also working in live sewerage. So these areas have been over budget than what we actually forecast. We also have some overtime expenses over budget by $210,000, and this is primarily due to some large water main breaks that we've had that needed to be fixed, and we had overtime staff working in those areas, and we're also overtime where we've had vacant positions that have been delivered through overtime. We've also had some other employee expenses. We've had unbudgeted parental leave of $105,000 and termination payments of $94,000, and also $26,000 of additional expenses around our uniforms due to higher than staff turnover. If I move on to capital revenue, we're under budget around our WISER revenue recognition. So this is the water grant that we receive. 1.8 million under budget on the Mission Beach CBD due to revenue recognition again, due to rain and not being able to undertake some of the works that we'd hoped to. So we're hoping for some good weather over the next couple of months so we can get some of these projects underway. We're also under budget on the roads to recover new revenue recognition. We are making a claim in April, so that will certainly be covered. Moving on to the Capital Works program. So our Capital Works program contains 340 projects, and we have a budget of 95.15 million that we set out. 41.8 million of our capital budget has been already spent, and that represents 44% of the total budget, with 75% of the year elapsed. When we include commitments, this increases to 71.4 million of the 94.15 million capital budget spent, as at 75% of the year elapsed. So with council with that, we're hoping for some good weather next couple of months to continue progress on our capital budget projects, although there may be some carryover required into the next financial year. On that basis, recommendation is that council receives and notes the 2024-25 financial performance report for March 2025.
Any questions? I've got a few. On page 4 of the report, I note employee expenses over budget due to unbudgeted leave payments. So what controls will council introduce to avoid this being a continual issue?
Thank you, Mayor. That's a very good question. So parental leave payment includes things like maternity leave that we didn't necessarily budget for. Moving forward, we are going to be looking at some of our demographics in our teams. If I look at my own team, corporate and community services, we have a large number, which is always great, of female employees. And that is sometimes what drives some of our parental leaves, and we haven't budgeted for them. But we are now going to look back historically and see what averages we've had around parental leave, and then set aside some budget for that particular item, so that it is budgeted for.
Through you, Chair, I guess just to add to that, the salary and wages is currently about $300,000 under budget, but as you pointed out, those allowances as well as the overtime, a significant amount of that is a result of some of the flooding events that we have seen this year. So as is highlighted in the report, there's $1.2 million worth of emergent works and CDO work, so that's the counter disaster operations which are refunded, so there is an offset there in the income of $1.2 million to cover some of the the wet weather allowances and the overtime that was put to ensure that we did undertake those counter disaster operations.
Yes, I'll refer back to the unbudgeted. If it's unbudgeted, then we need to put some controls in place to make sure that the issue doesn't continue, probably along with the also the comment about the uniforms, you know, maybe there needs to be a policy adopted to reduce the continual turnover, like maybe a limited allocation for the first 12 months, I don't know, but there definitely should be some systems put in place.
Through the Chair, Council absolutely have a policy with uniforms. It provides that there's limited uniforms provided to individuals during their probation period, that first 3 months. Then there's an allocation for those frontline and outdoor workforce for the first 12 months, and then a reduced allocation for every year to top up their uniforms. Where you've got outdoor workforce, we've got a legislative requirement to ensure that their uniforms are visible and that they remain in that state.
There was also a comment on there about revenue recognition in relation to One Mile. What does that actually mean?
So, through the Chair, Council was successful in, and with the support of both community and a number of both federal and state members and senators in receiving $1.5 million to undertake some emergency dredging of 1 Mile Creek. So some initial dredging has been undertaken. That was undertaken with regard to dredging less than 1,000 tonne wet weight of material because that didn't require an EA. Obviously, an environmental authority requires a location for dredge spoil to be deposited, and that wasn't able to be negotiated with the liquidator on lot 170. So Council proceeded with the under 1,000 tonne of material. That's obviously come in under that budget, so there's about $500,000 of that funding still available. So Council officers at the moment are working with the department seeking a temporary EA, and that can be done under the emergency provisions in the Act. And the intent is, if we're successful in getting that emergency EA, that some additional dredging can be done. Obviously, there's no intent for that residual funding to be handed back to the federal government.
Thank you. And given that with including commitments, we've got 70.14 million in the capital budget, does that mean that we're going to have a carryover of 34 million?
We may have some carryover, though, but we don't expect the carryover to be that high. We've still got a couple of months till the 30th of June, so with some good weather, we should be able to undertake some additional works that are planned in the last couple of months.
Through the Chair, there is some planned carryover there, so probably the most significant project the Council have underway at the moment is the Mission Beach Revitalisation Project. So the practical completion date for that project has been December 2025, so the carryover of that project funding into the next financial year has always been something that is planned.
Thank you. Any further comments? Councillor Baines.
Thank you, Mayor. Question for Ms Strzelecki. And I think you've answered it already, but just to reiterate, because a lot of the time grant funding is linked to timelines and it must be spent by a certain date, but especially because of all the weather events that we've been having, to me it feels like since 2022, but there's been significant weather events during this financial year, so just to reiterate, we're not at risk about losing any of this funding from the state or the federal government.
No, we're not, and we certainly provide status reports to them as well in terms of where we're at with spending that funding. The only real funding one that we do have that is time limited is the Works for Queensland program. That's a 3-year program, but the wet weather, sort of the counter disaster operations funding are not time limited.
Through the Chair, I was just going to add the Mission Beach project. Obviously, we have state funding, $3.5 million through the LGGSP, the local government grants, which has a different acquittal date to the federal funding, which we have through the Growing Regions Fund, which is over around $8 million worth of funding. So there's always some complexities there where we've undertaken a body of work and we're about 60% through that project, looking to acquit the state funding through that initial phase, but the acquittal of that federal funding for that project, that date is still out towards that PC date of December 25.
Any further comments?
Happy to move.
Councillor Baines moved. Councillor Jessup second. All those in favour? Thank you. Thank you for your report. Move on to 5.2, Reef Guardian Action Plan Update, and Mr Sides will present. Good morning.
Madam Mayor.
Good morning, good morning. And Mr Anderson, thank you.
Good morning, Mr Sides. Mr Anderson.
Today's report is around an update of the Reef Guardian Action Plan for Council Managers. Catherine Coast Regional Council is one of the 20 coastal councils that work in partnership with the Reef Authority to undertake a variety of planning and operational activities under the Reef Guardian Council program. To support this, Council is a signatory to a memorandum of understanding with the Reef Authority, which outlines partnership principles and allows for shared media and activity reporting. As part of this process, Council maintains a Reef Guardian Action Plan, aligned with the Federal Reef 2050 Long-Term Sustainability Plan. This identifies our recently completed, ongoing and potential future projects that contribute to long-term reef health improvements. The action plan is used for reporting of effort across all participating councils and identifies potential funding opportunities to undertake further actions in regards to reef health and protection at a local government level. The Reef Guardian program, which was first launched in 2007 and in 2025 has grown to include 20 member councils, covers more than 75% of the reef catchment and a population of more than 1 million people. There is also a Reef Guardian Schools program, which provides educational resources and activities, of which many of our schools are active members. Catherine Coast Regional Council has been a long-term member of the program, which is represented by the Governance and Environment Committee portfolio holder and the Natural Environment Technical Officer. There's 4 meetings a year that are supported by the Reef Authority for council staff to attend. The Reef Guardian Action Plan 2025, as attached, identifies projects that address key threats to the Great Barrier Reef, including climate change, coastal development, land-based runoff, reef heritage and social values. They are aligned with the relevant areas of the Reef 2050 Long-Term Sustainability Plan. In December 2022, the Department of Climate Change, Energy and Water announced an investment package for the reef protection and restoration activities, and Council is currently delivering a 3-year program of $920,000 in grant funding to address key issues such as sediment loss from roads, investing in solar capacity and energy storage, and a development of wetlands at Arena Lakes in Innisfail. The action plan itself has been consulted with the Councillors and Executive Leadership Team, Catherine Coast Natural Assets Management Advisory Committee, and our Senior Leadership Team. Recommendations put forward today is that Council acknowledge the ongoing partnership with the Reef Authority and the Reef Guardian Council program, endorse the updated Reef Guardian Action Plan as attached, and endorse the Chief Executive Officer to apply for future grant funding opportunities to aid progression towards Reef 2050 long-term sustainability main targets.
Councillor Chewy.
Thank you, through the Chair. Just, Mr Sides, you talked about the Reef Guardian schools, and we've driven past schools that have got the logo on their gate. Could you tell us how many schools are involved, and potentially, and also what criteria do they have to fulfil to become a Reef Guardian school?
Yes, through the Chair. Councillor Chewy, the Cardwell School is a Reef Guardian school, and in our region, 24 of 28 schools are Reef Guardian schools, and we're working on the other few at the moment. 19 of our 24 primary schools are Reef Guardian schools, and 3 of our 4 secondary colleges are. Each school gets provided resources and information from the Reef Authority to help children gain an understanding of reef and the issues it faces and its values, and they also maintain their own action plans that are based on what the school can do, and they're put towards the Reef 2050 plan.
So did the schools undertake projects themselves then to safeguard the reef? Or
Yeah.
do we work potentially with the school children as well? They reach out to us as well?
Yeah, through the Chair, is that correct? We do go out to schools and provide information on wetlands and water quality and reef health. And schools run their own programs, whether it be community gardens or understanding wetlands and activities to deal with reef health.
Well done. I just hope to get those other schools on board as well. That'd be fantastic. Thank you. Happy to move the report as well. Thank you.
Moved by Councillor Chewy. Any further comments? Councillor Baines. Sorry,
no-
guys.
Go to Councillor McLeod.
Councillor McLeod?
Sorry, through the chair, just to, one of the schools in my area actually go to the beach. They hire buses and go to the beach to clean up the beach, and then they go through and they sort it with an actual ranger and all the different stuff. So, and they've got our own community garden as well. So some of the schools are doing some amazing things in that space.
Very good. Councillor Baines?
Thank you. I'm happy to second the motion, of course. Madam Mayor. Just some comments again around the importance of a Reef Guardian Council action plan. So the 20 Reef Guardian Councils was previously 19. It's 20 now. We're looking at 22 Reef Guardian Councils later this year. There's great interest growing. Some of that interest you could probably directly relate to the 17.48 million that the federal government invested in the Reef Guardian Councils, but the importance of these documents is that the action plan, the projects that were put forward to DECU had to be in the action plan. I had the great opportunity to meet with Tanya Plibersek in their first year of being in government early in 2022, and we had this discussion, and the minister at the time was very, very interested in action being done on the ground. So it's essential for Reef Guardian Councils in particular to have this sort of a document so that we can go to the government and say, this is in our plan, we are ready to do this, we need funding. So the funding model may change in the future. One, we don't know what's going to happen on the 3rd of May, and two, they're also looking at some other methodology around place-based and merit-based projects to keep that non-competitive grant process going forward. That was the very strong piece of this funding. It was not a competitive grant process, so the big councils didn't win all the money. Wodja Council got the same amount of money as Townsville City Council, and that sort of money is significant in a smaller community towards the works they can do. The strength around local government doing this work cannot be disregarded. The 20 Reef Guardian Councils annually spend upwards of $500 million in their efforts towards actions helping with reef water quality, climate change, all those different things. And we're spending that out of our own funds, so getting support from the state and federal government is essential. The LGAQ have got a Reef Council program which is 38 councils, collectively $1.2 billion spent. So I'm very grateful to the federal government for their generous $17.48 million, but I took the opportunity on Tuesday to also encourage them to continue their investment in local government, because we are the best people on the ground positioned to provide them with value for dollar for their investment. So very happy to second this. Great to see this piece sitting here. If people go through it and read it, there's also some caveats around it. This stuff is all, this isn't locked in. We don't have budget we don't have budget pieces around. Some of this we do that are already done, but these are, it's like a wish list in a sense, I suppose. And if we all continue, and I know your lobbying activities as well, and the other councillors around the table, and your support in my position as executive of the Reef Guardian Councils, executive chair, it's great work, because we all need to work together, because local government is the link to community, and community and local government know what needs to be done. We don't need to be bringing consultants in from all over the countryside to come and help us or tell us how to suck eggs. We need to develop these projects ourselves and put them on the ground ourselves. So that's my soapbox. I'm done.
Does that plan still include the betterment for road runoff?
Through
Yes.
the chair, yes, there's various cleaner roads runoff projects. One of those which was funded in the first round.
Yeah, that's right. We did that trial at Grenadilla.
Yep.
Okay. Any other questions? No, we've got a mover and a seconder. Councillor Jessup.
I did have a question, but I think Councillor Baines, you just answered it all anyway, so that's fine. Thank you. Happy to.
We've had it moved and seconded, so those in favour, so we're all in favour. Thank you, carried. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Curbside waste and recycling collection policy, and we have Mr. Allnut to present.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Good morning, Council, Mr CEO and residents of Cardwell. This is an update to our curbside waste and recycling collection policy. The purpose of this report is for Council to consider adopting an updated curbside refuse collection policy. Changes made within this policy are also proposed to be reflected in a future update to Local Law Number 3, Part 4, Waste Management. The Cassowary Coast Regional Council is committed to providing a sustainable, cost-effective curbside collection service that meets legislative requirements and promotes environmental responsibility. As such, we have introduced curbside collection of mixed recycling, and this report seeks to supersede the existing policy with the updated policy. The introduction of the yellow-lidded mixed recycling bin and the reclassification of the red-lidded bin as a general waste aligns with national standardisation and targets for increasing recycling and reduction of general waste. This policy ensures that Council meets its legislative obligations while improving environmental outcomes. This updated policy also seeks to extend the coverage of the curbside collection service to approximately 100 additional rural residents and clarifies the replacement of all CCRC residential curbside waste collection bins. The recommendation being that Council adopt the amended curbside refuse collection policy.
Councillor Chewy.
Good morning. Thank you through the chair. Mr. Allnut, it's great to see we're going to the recycling, and I know it has caused confusion and concern for some residents, and I hope people are understanding how the process will work. I know that there are some residents that still do not have their yellow bin. Let me assure you, beg your pardon, let me assure you, if you don't have your lid, you're still recycling. So please consider your big bin as your recycling bin, is that correct? But could you provide an update on when those that don't have their yellow lid might be able to have it replaced? And could you just let community know what is happening to the lids that have been removed? Because there's concerns that we're just replacing plastic with plastic and it's causing more problems. Thank you.
Sure. Thanks, Councillor Shuey. Through the chair. So the update on the yellow lids, we've delivered or had fitted approximately 10,000. We've still got about another 4,500 to go. We do ask residents to, during their recycling week, that they do leave their bin out between 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. That gives adequate time for the contractors to replace the yellow lids. The trucks driving around do have a stock of yellow lids on, so while they are travelling around, those lids will be replaced. So in terms of timelines, we're looking at about 6 to 8 weeks, but that does depend on those presentation rates. Through the chair, in regards to the other query around the lids or the existing green lids, they're actually being turned into a palletised plastic and they'll be recycled to make further and future bins.
If I may, again, through that. So if people are concerned that they haven't got their bin lid, appropriate lid, is there a process they need to follow, or other than putting their bin out? Should they report it or just put their bin out?
Just put their bin out on those recycling days.
Okay,
Yep.
all right. Thank you for that.
Any further? Councillor Pervin.
Yes, through the chair. Just in relation, over the last couple of years, I've had residents that have contacted me in relation to bin replacements where councils charge them. I believe with this update, and not just in relation to previously it was bins being stolen that they pay for themselves. I believe that council will be able to allocate a certain amount of money per year for this.
Put the mic up.
Thanks, Councillor Pervin. So through the chair, this report in 3 bin repair and replacement does step out that council will also provide a replacement bin at the end of the bin's useful life, which is currently 10 years, or if the bin has been stolen.
Thanks.
I've also had the ongoing question about the red-lidded bin not being big enough for some. Is there the opportunity for people to get a bigger red-lidded bin?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Through the chair, short answer, yes, there is. Yep.
Okay. Any further questions? Right.
Sorry, just to clarify, so that can be just called through to customer service and they can step inquiring customers through to that bigger bin should they wish.
Very good. Councillor Chewy.
Just to clarify though, there would be a cost involved in having a bigger bin because we are paying for that the contents of that red lid bin to go to landfill, so there would be a cost involved if they wanted a bigger bin?
Correct, there will be, yeah. It will be slightly higher than the
Current
situation.
service.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just wanted to make that quite clear, that's all.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you. Someone want to move it? Councillor Jessup moved it. Councillor Littlemore second. Those in favour? All in favour? Thank you.
Thanks, Madam.
Go to 5.4, proposed amending subordinate local law.
Morning, Mayor. Morning, councillors.
Morning.
This item is the proposed amendment of subordinate local law number 9 about parking 2025. The report presents the proposed amending subordinate local law number 9, attachment 1, which is the first step as outlined in Council's local law making policy, section C, making a subordinate local law. The object of the amending subordinate local law is to change the infringement notice penalty amounts for minor traffic offences and also to specify off-street regulated parking areas. I might ask Mr Gardner to walk us through the background.
Thank you, Mayor and councillors and community. So this is a fairly dry item, but it's a really important one. There's been an error which is flagged there in the papers in that the version of the subordinate local law that was gazetted by the state government is not the version that was passed by council, and staff were working off the wrong version. The net result of that in practical terms is that some of the infringements that have been issued over the last 2 years were for a slightly higher amount, and we'll now need to correct the local law and then go about redressing and refunding those errors.
So the recommendation, councillors, is that council propose to make the amending subordinate local law number 9 and also make amending subordinate local law number 9 parking available for public consultation for a period of 21 days as per section C, step 3 of the local law making policy.
Thank you.
Happy to answer any questions.
No worries. Any questions from anybody? We have a mover. Councillor Baines. Seconded by Councillor McLeod. And all in favour of the... Thank you. Carried. Thank you, guys. Move on to policy review, and Ms Kerr will present.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Thank you. Regularly reviewing policies and procedures keeps councillors, council staff and other stakeholders up to date with regulations, technology and industry best practice. The 4 policies presented to you today are attached to the report. I'll just briefly run through them. The advertising spending policy is required to be adopted annually under the Local Government Act, and the purpose of this policy is to provide guidelines to manage expenditure on advertisements placed by council in various mediums to ensure advertising is in the public interest. The enterprise risk management policy has been reviewed and proposed amendments to better reflect the ISO 31000 risk management guidelines, which are an international standard published by the International Organisation for Standardisation that provides principles and guidelines for risk management. Our local lawmaking policy is required for its cyclical review, and no recommended amendments applied to this policy. And lastly, the provision of legal assistance for employees, councillors and committee members has been reviewed with a minor suggested addition to the scope of the policy to state that the policy does not apply to former employees dismissed on disciplinary grounds or former councillors who were dismissed under the Local Government Act or found guilty of a disqualifying offence as defined in section 153 of the Act. The recommendation is that Council adopt the following policies: advertising spending, enterprise risk management, making local law, and provision of legal assistance for employees, councillors and committee members. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Councillor Baines?
Thank you, Ms Kerr. Great report as usual. As we know, governance rocks, but governance is not the sexy stuff in local government. It is sometimes, I think Mr McNamara discussed the last agenda item being a little dry. This one's probably drier again. So, but it's essential that this work needs to be followed, and we need to keep up to date because regulations often change without us getting great line of sight to it. I know that they flick stuff out, and without a strong governance team, we're not keeping up with those sort of issues, and the relevant changes you put into these documents. Again, most of it is around a regulation possibly changing or something in not legislative changes. They're larger pieces of work, but the regulatory changes are a little more subtle, aren't they? So,
correct.
As a fair comment. So happy to move this, Mayor.
Move, Councillor Baines. Yep. Seconded, Councillor Chewy. All in favour of the review? Carried, thank you.
Thank you.
5.6, request for leave. Mr Gruffin.
Through you, Chair, a fairly simple report. Councillor Chewy has requested a leave of absence for the period from Friday 23rd of May to Wednesday 4th of June 2025 inclusive. There's a recommendation there which is to approve the leave of absence for that period, Friday 23rd of May to Wednesday 4th of June 25 inclusive.
Very good. We have a mover. Councillor Pervin, seconded Councillor Littlemore. All in favour? Very good. We go to 5.7, operational plan, and Mr Gruffin will present.
Through you, Chair, attached is the operational plan and the third quarter progress report for the 24-25 financial year, which highlights the outcomes achieved against the individual activities to address the key strategies and objective as outlined in Council's corporate plan. You'll note again in the operational plan we use the status initiatives, either a green dot on track, an orange monitor, an off-track red dot, or achieved as a blue tick. Brief comments have been included where considered appropriate. 78 initiatives have been identified for 24-25. 21 initiatives are now completed. 8 have been highlighted for monitoring. 1 is off track, which is initiative 48, and 48 remain on track for delivery. Initiative 48 is to facilitate the review of the update of the CCRC regional flood model to enable informed decisions to manage the risk associated with future flooding events, and flood-resistant development has been identified as off track. That project was funded following TC Jasper, December 23, and was underway. Officers at the moment are just including some of the empirical data that we've had from the recent flooding events in South Mission Beach and Cardwell to ensure that that empirical data is also informing that flood modelling. So they will be delivered not in Q3 but now in Q4. Run through quickly, our operational plan is obviously identifies the key pillars from our corporate plan. So some of the highlights in there from community, we've continued to complete programs developed and implemented and made publicly. We've made public 4 of our maintenance programs in those key classes, so unsealed roads, precincts, boat ramps and parks. As we move down into economy, our future, maintaining council's small business friendly council charter commitments has been a strong focus of council, and some great outcomes there through the Renew Cassowary Coast program, BizConnect and the BizConnect Hub. Going to infrastructure, a number of key projects there. We are looking at the FNQ Rock Road reseal contract being updated to reflect seal designs, providing minimum life cycles. That work is is well and truly underway at the moment. We talked about some of those key projects like the Mission Beach CBD revitalisation project, which is currently running ahead of schedule. Under our natural environment, the implementation of the curbside collection and the commingled recycling was implemented and commenced 24th of March. That's been a key. We will be seeing an increase in the amount of education that's provided through that program. The JJ's Richards J-Track process and the Black Moth means they have a camera that actually sits at the top of the truck, so as the bins are going in, they actually use AI to try and assess how much contamination we've got, which is critical as we try and target some of that future education. Obviously, if we deliver waste to the Cairns Regional Council MRF, Material Recycling Facility, if it does have significant contamination, it's then diverted from that facility up to Springmount in Mareeba at additional cost. So Council will be continuing to roll out education in that space and continue again. If we look at our organisation, we have their completion of succession plans and processes. We've also completed Council's BCPs, the business continuity plans, to ensure where we do have events that we are able to continue to deliver those services. Happy to take any questions on any of those items that are in there, but there is a recommendation that the quarterly review of the 24-25 operational plan to 31 March 25 be received and its contents noted.
Councillor Toohey.
Thank you. Through the Chair, Mr Graffin, you did mention the Mission Beach revitalisation, which obviously is progressing. Sometimes when people don't know things, they make things up. So are we on schedule financially and construction-wise and ticking all the boxes, please? Because there are sort of stories circulating that the opposite is true, and I'd just like to clarify that, if I may, please.
Yeah, look, through the Chair, any urban revitalisation project is a challenging project. Council's working with the contractor at the moment to ensure that we're providing adequate visibility and access to the businesses down there. Council's focus has been around investing in activation of the precinct, drawing people in. The Mission Beach Dollars project had another $1,700 invested in the precinct in the last month, which is 170 visitations which have been driven in through those Mission Beach Dollars. Project budget, we have a significant contingency there. Council is, or the project is currently well within that contingency. I think we have somewhere around $800,000 worth of contingency remaining. The fact that we're mostly out of the ground now reduces a significant amount of that risk. Most of the risk around contingency comes from latent conditions, which are services, underground services. Obviously the wet season that we've had, dewatering, if you've gone through there, they're using some significant pipes and to actually dewater the sites. But as we move above ground, it's significantly de-risked the risk. So yeah, officers are comfortable. We have contingency there. I think the things that we might and Council may need to consider moving forward are what are the opportunities to further accelerate construction. So PC date of December 25, due to there were some variations made around some of the drains that went in early, particularly through the village green. There was approval there to prefabricate some of the base slabs rather than pour in situ, which meant that they could be prefabricated off-site and slotted in rather than having to wait for those to cure. So that's certainly brought us ahead of program at the moment. That wet weather we've had over the last couple of months is certainly bringing it back onto program. But yeah, those opportunities with that remaining contingency will be to look at if there are opportunities to further accelerate the program. So that may be diverting traffic through an alternate track to provide better access to some of the roads. But look, officers are comfortable where the project's progressing within budget, on time at the moment, which are key KPIs for that project, and working well with the contractor RMS.
This might be a little bit off track, and maybe you can help me out with this, Councillor McLeod, but did CCT end up getting those vouchers that were to do with small business re the flooding?
Yeah, through the Chair, I was going to mention that in general business, but I'll bring it up now. No. Kasserine Coast Tourism leveraged originally $30,000 for sort of like a mates rates campaign to bring people into the region to attract visitors in, to help our local tourism operators. They were successful, found out, I think it was Thursday last week, that they secured an extra $20,000. So that's a total of $50,000 to go into our local economy, which will actually have a flow-on spend effect of at least $120,000 plus on top of that, what people will spend in cafes, shops and all the rest of it. So that was a great initiative that Cassowary Coast Tourism fought for our region. They're our local tourism operator, tourism organisation, sorry. So yeah, we'll see that campaign rolled out either later this week or early next week. And as we saw, like after the flooding, Seymour was cut, we couldn't get people from Townsville and further south, so it had a huge flow-on effect, not only on Cardwell, but the whole of the Cassowary Coast region. So yeah, I want to thank Cassowary Coast Tourism for their hard work, but also I want to thank Tourism Events Queensland for the support as well with that 50K.
Where can people look out for it, and how do they become available to get a voucher? How does it work?
I'm not quite sure on what the things are yet. Mr. Graffin may have.
Through the chair, Cassowary Coast Tourism will launch. They haven't yet quite launched the promotion, but it's been announced. But effectively, I think, understand it will be a minimum 2-night stay, and you receive a $150 voucher to go towards that. So one of the nights can cost anything from nothing to, depending on the accommodation you choose to stay in, a discount of $150.
Very good. I also note in the operational plan on page 11, item 20, the facilitation of the Cardwell mountain bike trails. Can you advise who is funding the business development officer?
Is it 20? Item 20?
It's in the attachment. Yeah,
I think it's a business case. That business case had funding. We received funding for that.
So does that cover the business officer?
Can you do you know which item that is?
It was 20, is it 20?
It's 20.
No. Or is it 11?
I can certainly say that there is no additional resource internally with council as far as the Cardwell mountain bike business case. We have engaged BDO to undertake that body of work. They're an external consultant. We were lucky enough to receive $150,000 worth of funding from the state government to progress that project. BDO were down here, I believe, about 2 weeks ago presenting to the community, and great still to have community support for that project. But certainly,
It also says pre-construction and work packages. It states that this is now an investment decision. Who is the investment decision aimed at?
So look, the work that's happening at the moment is really putting together that business case to progress. At the moment, we're certainly not at a point where we have the funding yet to undertake even any detailed design. So what BDO is looking at doing is providing the documentation to support a funding application, probably through the regional precincts funding that's available for the federal government. Through our original business case, it identified that we required about $2.4 million to undertake both the environmental assessments, the cultural assessments, and to deliver the detailed design. I guess what we have at the moment is the concept of 94 kilometres of mountain bike trails through Cardwell. We need to progress that, and we know that without having some of those barriers, the environmental barriers and cultural barriers that can occur with these projects, actually identified, consulted on and resolved, that you can't then identify what the funding opportunity is. So at this stage, as far as the investment decision, purely council's got $150K worth of funding. They've engaged BDO to support the application for future funding, which would be grant funded for the development of that detailed design.
I've asked the question before and I'll ask it again because I don't want the failure of the this particular project to be coming back onto the ratepayers of the Cassowary Coast should the private enterprise that takes it on doesn't perform as it should. So, you know, do we have systems in place to make sure that that's not going to be the case?
Through you, Chair, we're not even at that phase yet. So we're still developing a further business case to apply for funding just to go through the detailed design. So there's certainly no council resolution or decision around undertaking construction or what the operations of that would look like. We're effectively getting the detailed design undertaken so you can provide some more accurate costings as to what the capital cost of any future development would be and what those operational costs would look like. At this stage, we don't have that level of detail and we don't even have the funding. So there's certainly, there is a journey still ahead before that project would get to that point.
Very good, thank you. Any more questions? No more questions? Somebody want to move it? Councillor Littlemore. Councillor McLeod, second it. All those in favour? Carried, thank you. We move on to 6.1 Mundu Airdrome Action Plan, and Ms Morgan will present. Good morning.
Morning all.
Morning, Ms Morgan.
The Mundu Aerodrome Action Plan provides a strategic direction for the Mundu Aerodrome, acknowledging its vital role in supporting economic growth, key industries and connectivity within the Cassowary Coast region. The action plan outlines a clear framework focusing on safety, supporting our existing commercial industries, enabling growth and expansion and ensuring financial sustainability. It prioritises key capital and operational projects, examines expansion opportunities and facilitates clear communication with stakeholders. The development of the action plan involved consultation with the Mundu Aerodrome Advisory Committee and aligns with Cassowary Coast Regional Council's strategic plans. This was funded by the Queensland Government's Works for Queensland Round 3. So Mundu Aerodrome, for further information, is the only certified aerodrome that we have within the region, so that in itself comes with additional CASA requirements and obligations. That was part of the reason we've seen a need to adopt a formal master plan or action plan for this aerodrome, as there's nothing currently adopted in place. Part of this implementation action plan will also highlight projects over the next 5 years that we'll be recommending in the budget. So a couple examples of those for the next financial budget that we'll be putting up is for the upgraded taxiway that the commercial operators use. And that's also used by our RFDS services and has been highlighted in our airport inspections as a critical asset that requires upgrade, as well as an additional operational project we'll be putting up to add an additional approach into runway 14 to provide a contingency in poor weather conditions. So the recommendation of part of this is that Council adopt the Mundu Innisfail Aerodrome Action Plan 2025 to 2030 and the Implementation Action Plan as per Appendix A, and in that we consider in the development of the 2025 to 26 budget the approval of projects prioritised from the action plan for delivery, with the understanding that a grant of $247,500 has been successful under round 4 of the federal government's Regional Airports program. So we would only have to fund the other 50% of that. Any questions?
Yes, we have Councillor McLeod.
Thank you, and through the chair, congratulations, Ms Morgan and the team for that successful grant application of nearly $250,000. And we know without grants, our small local government councils, you know, we can't keep putting on the ratepayers. So congratulations to the team for successfully grabbing that grant. Just want to make a note that the advisory committee, it is made up of commercial and recreational users, so it's a really, it's a great group and they're working together, and the action items in that, they've prioritised those along with council staff. So congratulations, and I'm happy to move that recommendation.
Any further questions? You'll second it? Did you move that, Renee? Yes, thank you. Thank you. Seconded by councillor Jessup. All in favour of the plan? Thank you.
Thank you.
We now move to reorganisation, community and engagement structure.
Good morning again. Under the Local Government Act 2009, Chapter 6, Division 2, 196, Subsection 1, a local government must by resolution adopt an organisational structure that is appropriate to the performance of the local government's responsibilities. An organisational structure is a hierarchy by which council's administration is divided into directorates, departments, teams to describe the different work areas by which there is a chain of command with each work area. This report recommends changes to the organisational structure of the Community and Engagement Division to deliver improved strategic oversight and service delivery across communication, community development, customer service and libraries. With the recent departure of the Manager Community Engagement, it was a timely opportunity to review the position description of the role and organisational structure of the Community and Engagement team to ensure it is still fit for purpose and strategically aligned to best deliver the required outcomes before commencing any future recruitment. The existing Manager Community and Engagement role has a very wide remit and covers customer services, libraries, community development, advocacy, communication engagement and tourism and events. From conducting interviews with staff and also researching and talking to other councils, it was evident that the structure as currently constituted is too broad to be covered by one manager. It is questionable that a candidate could be recruited that has the necessary subject matter experience and skills to effectively deliver across the breadth of the division. For example, technical experts in customer services are generally very different in education and experience from a communications expert. It is certain that recruitment to this position as currently described would lead to a compromise with capabilities strong in some areas and limited in others, or worse, fail to attract any appointable candidates. Staff also reported not having enough time for support and direction from the previous Manager Community and Engagement given the time constraints and limited capacity to work across the entire portfolio. The proposed changes are designed to attract subject matter experts across community development and advocacy and communications which better support services to the Mayor, Council, internal stakeholders and the community. The attached business case provides further details and outlines findings from meetings with Cairns Regional Council, Townsville Regional Council, Isaac Regional Council and the Lockyer Valley Regional Council, which have informed the recommended changes, and this has been balanced against budget constraints and the adopted workforce plan strategy. In summary, the recommended changes to the structure are as follows. Disestablish Manager Community Engagement 20063, disestablish Community Services Officer 40196, create new position Manager Communications and Engagement, with a position description has been attached, create new position Principal Community Development and Advocacy, the new position is just attached. The creation of the Manager Communication Engagement is critical to the implementation of the new Communication Engagement Strategy by Council and raising the profile and strategic importance of community communication and internal communication strategies, which fosters more informed staff that facilitates better outcomes to service delivery. The Manager Communications and Engagement will be instrumental in leading strategic cultural change on how communication is delivered internally and externally and raising the profile of its strategic importance and ensuring our community is informed and managing Council's brand and reputation. It is not enough to do the job. We need to let people know what we are doing, how it is going and when it is finished. The creation of Principal Community Development Advocacy will provide leadership and strategic direction of an extensive number of community operational initiatives and ensure appropriate structure that facilitates growth and development and succession planning. It is recommended that the Principal Customer Service and the Principal Library Services continue to report directly to the Director Corporate and Community Services, pending a review of the future strategy and approach to delivering customer experience and library services and exploration of customer service transformation through technology and process efficiency, leading to improved service delivery to the community, and the potential for more accessible and efficient customer services through better integration of customer service and libraries to provide services to the community. The initiation of a review is subject to council and approval and will be provided for consideration during the upcoming budget and operational discussions that we're planning in May 2025. The Tourism and Event Development Lead was transferred to Development and Environmental Services effective 17th of March 2025 to build capacity and improve synergy. For further information on the above recommendations, please refer to the attached documents, the business case, current and proposed organisational chart, position description, manager communication and engagement, position description, manager principal. The recommendation is to Council: note the findings in the report and the business case attached. Note the Tourism and Event Development Lead was transferred to Development and Environmental Services effective 17th of March 2025. Approve the proposed structure, which recommends the following: disestablish manager community and engagement, disestablish community services officer, create new position manager communications and engagement, create new position principal community development and advocacy. Note the proposed structure will deliver annual savings of 6.76k during 2025-26 while delivering improved strategic oversight and service delivery, including opportunities for development and succession planning. Note the recommendation to undertake a review of customer experience and library services to inform evidence-based future service delivery to the community, and authorise the Chief Executive Officer to make minor administrative changes to naming conventions within the structure on an as-required basis.
Thank you. Councillor Chewy. You're on mute. Any questions? Councillor Jessup, you got...
Yes, through the chair. It's not really a question, it's an observation mostly. This structure for this new structure chart, it looks great because it looks like it actually aligns with our growing our own policy as well, whereas before it didn't look like there was a structure for people to advance in their job, but now it does. So I suppose my question is, can we look at doing something, or can this be implemented in other departments of our establishment? I've often heard from local constituents that, council's top heavy, or they need to do this, or so maybe restructuring could be a way of looking at it.
Through the chair, thank you, Councillor Jessup. Certainly this is one of the things that we do across council, is when positions become vacant, is before we actually start to undertake any further recruitment, that we do actually look at those things, and we do look at the position and understand, is the position still fit for purpose, because some of them have had role descriptions that are a number of years old, and does it align with a structure that actually does facilitate that growth and development? Because as you could previously see, that operational structure was very flat, and you had many junior people all reporting to the manager. That junior person is not going to suddenly be able to become a manager. So it's around a structure that develops them, that they can move into future roles, and it really is a great opportunity for also making sure that our youth stay in this community, that there is actually opportunities for them to grow, and there is actually good jobs for them to be able to apply for, rather than going and moving to other, larger towns. So, we have, as a council, it's also really incumbent for us to be able to create those opportunities for the youth in our community.
Well done on restructuring, because you did a good job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Through the chair, just to add to that, council's obviously maintained over 18 apprentices and trainees over the last probably 5 years now. A lot of that has come from state government funding as well, but that growing our own is a value of ours, but it's more than just a value in the finance team in particular, bringing in graduate accountants, understanding what that succession planning looks like, and other critical roles like our project management team. We've got cadet project managers coming into those. So it's absolutely not just a value that we talk to, it's a value that the organisation lives.
So given that the position has been de-established, the past position, can council be assured that the two newly established positions that they do not require any budget allocation have been thoroughly assessed and their full monetary values have been accounted for?
Thank you, Mayor. Absolutely. As you know, my finance team who reports to me, we have done the analysis and there will be no further budgetary impost. In fact, their new structure, there is a small saving of 6.76.
Just on referral back to that in the finance report where there was unbudgeted allocations. So we've just got to make sure that if you're going to allocate new positions and they're not going to be imposted. The other thing is, do these positions have any extra implications such as vehicle allocations or anything like that that we need to be aware of?
The previous manager, as you know, did have a vehicle, but there's no, as part of this new budget with this position, there's no decisions being made around any vehicle. As you can see in the report and in the business case, we've looked on the basis of a total remuneration value, which doesn't include a vehicle.
Okay. Councillor Baines, did you have something to add?
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to support Councillor Jessop's comments. Again, you know, this is about, we've got the opportunities for Grow Our Own where we're talking about opportunities for promotion. We're talking about internal positions. And I think it's an important piece, and you just brought it up yourself, Madam Mayor. We're not just rolling over positions because that's what's there. There's been a review process. There's been what best fits for the organisation and also for our community and how can we improve. So I think this is a great piece of work. It's important. This isn't two brand new positions. It's almost the renaming and re-establishment of those existing positions that are disestablished, yes?
Yeah. And just on that point, Mayor, I just want around vehicles and so on. So one of those things when we do consider vehicles is also in terms of the role and the amount of travel that may be required, etc. So if that, you know, that whole thing around vehicles is if that is required with some of our roles, as you know, there is a vehicle policy.
Yeah, I do realise that, but I just make sure that it's all been added into, if we're going to have a cost saving, that we make sure that all of those implications are added in there and not, you don't come down the track and then say, oh, well, we forgot about this or we forgot about that. That's what I'm implying.
Yeah, they've all been considered, so it's the total remuneration value is included, yes.
Thank you very much. So it's been moved and seconded. We're all in favour of the new structure. Thank you. Harry?
Thank you.
We'll move on to general business. And I'll look over at you, Councillor Dewey. Your favourite subject?
In keeping with my normal place on general business. Yes, thank you everybody for attending today. I would just like to take this opportunity to thank everybody who has contributed to the handbag project, which supports people who are suffering, all victims of domestic and family violence and those that are doing it tough. I'm collecting some from Cardwell today and we'll be packing those bags up over the weekend and they'll be delivered to support centres, police stations, hospitals within our area and beyond. So thank you. I just want to say how excited it was over Easter. I know Mission Beach was buzzing. The markets were absolutely jam-packed and I believe the Cardwell markets were too. So I'd like to thank those that organise all the markets within our area. They are a vital part of our economy and I know I didn't recognise many faces at Mission Beach because they were visitors, floating around. So wonderful to see and yes, and just take time to acknowledge Anzac Day tomorrow wherever you are. Whatever service you may be attending, if you're attending any, thank you for that. And it's an important part of our history, so thank you.
Any further? Councillor Jessop?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Just a couple of things. I attended the Tully Masonic Lodge Anzac commemorations on Tuesday night, and I must say, well, it was a really moving ceremony. And if there's any young men that are interested to join the Brethren and learn their life teachings, I think that make a point of contacting them. They would appreciate some new members. The Feast of the Three Saints is celebrating their 75th wedding anniversary. Their 75th anniversary on Sunday the 4th of May. It commences at 10 a.m. and it continues into the evening. If you love Italian food, there's no better place to be. And with the passing of Pope Francis this year, celebrations are set to be very special. So, yeah, see if you can get your way there. Thank you.
Councillor McLeod.
Thank you, and through the chair, May is Small Business Month. Council, our ED team have organised an array of different events throughout the month of May, and it's very surprising to know that I think it's 90-something% of our businesses in the Kasserine Coast are small businesses. So if you want to jump on the website, there is lots of things like building skills. We've got mentoring growth days, cash flow, tax and super sessions. There's networking lunches throughout the whole Kasserine Coast. There's one in Cardwell, Mission Beach, Tully, Innisfail and Curramine. There's digital skills, AI workshops, so much stuff happening. Business breakfasts. NBM is doing a regional tech hub roadshow across the Kasserine Coast. There's a really good one in there too about winning tenders and capability statement sessions. Which we find in small business is quite difficult when you're going up against big companies who are, have got teams of that to do that, when in small business it's, your local builder or plumber who's actually on the tools and then going home and doing that body of work also. And there's also face-to-face trainings in Cardwell, Tully, Mission Beach and Innisfail also. So everything's on the website. They're all free, but you do have to book. But yeah, all of those events are there, so please jump on. If you're a small business, please have a look.
So I've had several inquiries about the cabins that we intend to remove from Port Hinchinbrook. Is there any line of sight as to when this will be taking place and what will happen with the cabins?
Through the chair, there was obviously a deregistered company that owned the property on Foxtail Avenue. Council provided a show cause notice to ASIC late February. Provided a response from ASIC was that they did not object to council going onto that property to make safe. Council's been allocated funding through DRFA Category C to undertake some works. Those works through that Category C funding have to be properties that are either not insured or pose potential future risk to community and around those clean-up events. So the project that Council's proposing there certainly aligns with that. Officers have gone out for tender, seeking quotes to relocate those cabins. I understand there's been significant community interest in some of those cabins. I guess the funding that we've got through this Category C is only available until the end of June this year. So Council's intent is to remove the cabins from site, opposed to initially trying to auction that. It's 100% grant funded. The risk with going to auction is that individuals may purchase those cabins, but from the initial costings we've received, if you are to get a permit and have to transport those cabins across the Bruce Highway, you're looking at costs anywhere upwards of $25,000 to $30,000 per cabin to relocate. So the intent would be to remove from site prior to June, prior to the end of June. There may be a little bit of movement there depending on how quickly the transport can be undertaken by the preferred contractor, and those would likely be taken to one of Council's transfer stations. So again, some risk around that if they're held at the Cardwell transfer station. If again they're put to auction or they are dilapidated and unable to be effectively sold, Council would then need to own source fund the removal of those from the Cardwell transfer station to another facility. The only two facilities where Council still has capacity for dry waste at landfill in Tully and Innisfail. So the intent is initially to get them off site to ensure that that site is made safe, to do that within the time frame that's provided through that CAT-C funding. Then what council do with those, obviously, if they can be through our waste and resource recovery team reused and repurposed, that would go through a broad expression of interest. It's important that council provide all community members, of community, the opportunity to potentially procure those.
And also the furthering of the dredging down there, when is that potentially going to come to light?
Yeah, look, through the chair, interestingly, the flooding events, so we took a pre-dredging bathymetric study and a hydrographic study earlier to that in January 24. The flooding event actually removed 11,000 cubic metres of material out of 1 Mile Creek. So the variation between the original Jan 24 hydrographic survey and the post-event bathymetric survey indicated about 11,000 cubic metres has been moved out. It makes it challenging to go to the state and the federal government and QRA and say, look, this flooding event has impacted or significantly impacted 1 Mile Creek. We need some funding to undertake further dredging there. So it's actually the event itself saw a significant decrease in material, not an increase. What we did see was a significant amount of debris, both in the commercial basin and 1 Mile Creek. Council has already enacted through that Category C funding for AMA to undertake the debris removal from the commercial basin, Lot 98, and also from 1 Mile Creek itself. The residual, as I mentioned, $500,000 in the federal funding. Council has already put a application in for a temporary environmental authority that would be using a similar methodology. Obviously, it was important to get the debris out of the creek because suction cutter dredging and large rocks and debris don't mix well together. But it would be a similar methodology that would be looked at. But that is pending two things. One is the approval from the department of that temporary EA, and the second thing is it would require a slight variation to the funding agreement with the federal government. So we're just waiting for acknowledgement of both of those things.
Thank you. And tomorrow is a day that signifies the courage, sacrifice and mateship that have shaped our nation. So I do urge you to support your local Anzac ceremony tomorrow. There should be one near everybody. I think there's Cardwell, Tully, Mission Beach, Curramine, Innisfail, Alarish. Any further general business? Councillor Baines.
Thank you, Chair. A couple of events coming up. So there's the Pacifica celebration, which will be held at Warina Lakes in Innisfail from 11 a.m. till 3 p.m. on Saturday the 3rd of May. That's about the PALM scheme, so there'll be representatives from all the 13 nations who are involved in the PALM scheme. So if you'd like to come along and see some of the dancing and some of the different singing events and that the community will do together, it's a great way to show support for the scheme. On Tuesday, Reef Guardian Council's nominated the Great Barrier Reef for an international award. There's a bit of work been going on in the background. It's called a Lifetime of Greatness Award. So there is a website piece around a Lifetime of Greatness.com.au. You can go on there and show your support. The most important part of this, in my mind, is it is the opportunity for us to get out to the international community. And again, I said this earlier through the chair, the reef is not dead. The reef is very well managed. The reef is quite healthy. The reef has its issues and there are risks, and we're all working towards that. But we need to tell the international community, come and have a look at this, the best reef in the world, and come and see it. So if you do have the time, jump on the website, alifetimeofgreatness.com.au, and show your support for this initiative with TTNQ, our local Tourism Group, CCT, Tourism Events Queensland, and we're already getting media requests coming out of Europe and Asia about this story. So not all of them are going to be positive, but it's starting the conversation and it's giving us the opportunity to tell people how well we are doing on the Great Barrier Reef, and make sure you come and see it and spend money in our communities. So that's it for me, Mayor, aside from see everybody at the Anzac commemorations tomorrow, and please show your respects for all of our service personnel.
Any further general business? Councillor Pervin.
Mr. CEO, just in relation to the roads around the region at the moment, I know a lot of the work for Cyclone Jasper has been undertaken. We currently still have shepherds doing reporting on the roads after the January, February events this year, is that correct? And waiting for finalisation from them?
Yeah, look, through the chair, the TC Jasper and associated flooding event that occurred in December 23 caused circa $40 million worth of damage. So Council have 6 contractors working across the region to deliver that work. We're about 60% of the way through that. That's everything from 100mm gravel resheets through to some pothole patching and debris clearance. There is a process around that DRFA funding. Obviously, Council spend $2.5 million every year on maintaining our unsealed road network. So $40 million of repairs is certainly not something that Council in our existing budgets can cover. So that process involves Council coming in, and we talked a little bit earlier about emergent works and counter-disaster operations. So I know those activities often bring some frustration because counter-disaster operations are effectively fully funded to make safe. So it may look like we're only bunting something off, it may look like we're doing a temporary patch on something. That's what those activities are about, making safe and making sure that some of those emergent things, we've got access on roads, we are the community safe following an event. We then, and again, based on the resources that we have, the DRFA funding is activated if it exhausts the resources that a council has. So you engage a contractor to undertake a full assessment of the road network. So Shepherd Services are undertaking that assessment. Following that assessment, submissions are put into QRA. So they need to basically demonstrate pre-condition, post-condition. So Council's lucky we do a regular pickup of our road network that can demonstrate that pre-condition. Shepherds then compare that with the post-condition. Again, a frustration in that process is that you can have a 1 kilometre section of road and the first 200 metres is approved for DRFA funding. The next 100 isn't, the next 200 is, the next 100 isn't. So when you do see those contractors out there undertaking work on those roads, it seems unusual that they pick the grader blade up and move 100 metres down the road to start the next section. But those are the sections that QRA have approved and have funded. So we believe at the moment we've got circa sort of $18 million worth of damage to the road networks and other infrastructure through the February flooding event. Those have been picked up and assessed. There's still some work going on our sealed road network. Often it's best, and you don't really see all of the impacts on that sealed road network until a month or two after. The moisture's still coming up in the subgrade and the pavement, and you start to see the bitumen cracking and coming apart with some additional time. So once they're into QRA, that can take anywhere from 4 weeks to 12 weeks to get those individual packages approved. Once we've got them approved, we need to put those packages out to market. So there is a time frame around that, and that time frame is really about ensuring that we do have funding to undertake those works, and that we then, just due to the cost and the nature and the quantum of the works that they're undertaking, that we have funding, we have going out and we are undertaking a proper procurement process to ensure that we are still getting value for money, even though they are funded, for the works to be completed. So there is there's a delay there. We're most of the way through Jasper, very well progressed with the pickup for this recent event, but may not see the actual recovery work, some of those DRFA works happen until slightly later. But yeah, we've spent close to $1.2, $1.3 million to date on the CDO and emergent works.
Is there any further general business? So I'll take this opportunity to thank the public for your patience during this meeting. We will now convene for morning tea for 15 minutes. Then council and council staff will proceed to provide an update on all things Cardwell, and then you will be given the opportunity to have questions on notice. And I would like to remind you that those of you who wish to make questions on notice, that you do so in a respectful manner. Thank you. So we'll convene the meeting at 10:50.